So things are playing out in the stock market like I predicted in my last video. In my last video, when the S&P 500 index was at this point over here, around 3,900, I told you guys that there was a good chance we'll see some downside action in the stock market. And we did see that downside action over here, right? After the index hit about 3,700, it looks like we are getting a little bit of a bounce. If we are able to break above 3,900, then we could close this week's weekly candle in the green. But I don't believe that will happen this week unless some magic happens in the stock market. Maybe some good news comes out in the stock market. But let's look at the fear and greed index. So looking at the fear and greed index for the market sentiments, it looks like sentiments have not really changed. The last week the index was at 29, and at the moment the index is at 26. So it looks like sentiments have got worse. People are much more fearful in the market, and this is mostly because of the inflation data that came out, the CPI data that came out. Inflation is much worse than we expected, and then this is making people in the stock market a little bit more fearful. Let's look at the heat map. Let's look at how the big players performed this past week. So looking at Google is down about 4%. Microsoft is down about 2%. Amazon is pretty neutral. Tesla is down about 1%. Out of the big players, it is only Apple that is up about 3% this past week. But across the board, it looks like everything is in the red. Let's look at the crypto market as well. Across the board, everything is in the red as well. Bitcoin is down about 4%, and Ethereum is down about 1%. But in this video, I want to focus more on the stock market. Let's look at the S&P 500 index to see what is likely to happen this upcoming week in the stock market. But before doing that, welcome to the channel. My name is Seth, and I cover the stocks and cryptocurrency market. So if you are enjoying the content, make sure to help a brother out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to turn on notifications for your weekly stock market updates and your weekly cryptocurrency market updates. Now, looking at the S&P 500 index in the weekly time frame, we see that nothing much has changed. The S&P 500 index is currently around 3,848 points over here, and we are currently trading below the midline, right? So this is the midline of the descending channel pattern. And this descending channel pattern is usually a bullish pattern, but at the moment we are trading below the midline. And this shows that the S&P 500 index is very bearish at the moment. If we break above the midline, then things could look bullish, but the chances of that happening is very low at the moment. Let's look at some other indicators. Let's bring up the mean reversion channel. So with the mean reversion channel on the chart at the moment, we see that the S&P 500 index is currently about one standard deviation below the mean, right? So this is the mean over here, and the mean is currently around 4,230 points, and the S&P 500 index is currently very close to the first standard deviation below the mean, around 3,801 points, right? If we are not able to break above the midline, and we are not able to break above the mean over here, if it takes us too long, then there's a good chance that the S&P 500 index will drop all the way down to the second standard deviation below the mean. The second standard deviation below the mean is currently around 3,194 points, right? So hopefully we do get some good news in the market to push us higher. Hopefully Russia ends the war, and also the Feds stop increasing interest rates, and then things could probably look better in the stock market. But now let's go to the 1 hour time frame. And let's look at what is likely to happen in the stock market for this upcoming week using the 1 hour time frame. Now, looking at the S&P 500 index in the lower time frame, in the 1 hour time frame, we see that after the S&P 500 index dropped from about 3,900 points over here, like I predicted, the S&P 500 index got a bounce around the 1.272 Fibonacci extension level. So the 1.272 Fibonacci extension level is around 3,741 points. So we got the bounce around the 1.272 Fibonacci extension, and now we are pushing higher. But we are getting a little bit of a resistance around the 3,600 points. Let me clean up a little bit. So we are seeing a little bit of a resistance around 3,860 points, right? So over here, we are getting a little bit of resistance. But I don't believe this resistance will hold us back. When we look at the VPVR, we see that even though there's a lot of volume over here at this level around 3,860 points, I do believe it will now hold us back, and I do believe we will see the most resistance when we get to around 3,900 points. That is where I believe we will see most of the resistance for the S&P 500 index. So for next week, I do believe we will break above 3,860 points, and we should push to about 3,900 points. And if we are able to break above 3,900 points, then things would definitely look good in the stock market. Then I do believe that we could head towards the midline. The midline, which is around 4,000 points, then the S&P 500 index could reach about 4,000 points. So all in all, I'm expecting a little bit more push towards the upside next week. But let's confirm that using some technical indicators. So let me bring up the RSI. So with the RSI on the chart, we see that the RSI is at the moment trading below, above the midline. So the midpoint, right? So this is the midline, which is around 50 points, right? And the RSI at the moment is currently around 57 points. So it looks like we are overbought, but it also shows that we have flipped bullish in the lower time frame, right? So things are looking bullish in the lower time frame for the S&P 500 index. In the higher time frame, things are still looking bearish, like I said before, but in the lower time frame, things are looking bullish. Let me bring up the MACD, and looking at the MACD, we see that the MACD line, the blue line over here, is above the signal line, right? So the signal line, this orange line, the MACD is above the signal line, and this is showing that there's a lot of buy momentum coming into the market. People are buying at the moment. There's a lot of buy volume in the market, but we are still looking bearish, like I said before. But in the lower time frame, things are looking bullish. Let's bring up the squeeze momentum as well. And looking at the squeeze momentum chart, we see that things are also looking bullish, right? We see that after we had a huge amount of sell volume over here, or a sell momentum, we saw a huge sell momentum. We are seeing a reversal, right? More people are buying, and we are seeing green bars in the squeeze momentum, and this shows that there's a lot of buy momentum in the market at the moment. So for the upcoming week, I'm expecting the S&P 500 index to push towards the 1.0 Fibonacci extension level around 3,930 points. If we do get some good news in the market, then we could push even higher past 3,930 points, and we could push towards about 4,000 points. But I'll be more conservative, and I would say the S&P 500 index will push towards about 3,900 points. And if we get some good news, then we could push even higher. But now make sure to help a brother out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications for your weekly stock market updates and your weekly cryptocurrency market updates.